Welcome to today's video where we're going to be tackling another of my Cheyenne's Impossible Reading Challenge squares. This one is the taste testing square. So, too much taste testing is a challenge I set myself to read the first chapter of every book on my physical TBR. Now, I will not be doing all of the books today because I think I have like 270 books on my physical TBR. I am not going to be trying every single one of them but in this video, but I will be trying a bunch. So as you can probably see over here, I have some stacks and I have one more stack downstairs that I need to go get. And I'm just going to be trying them. A lot of these are books that I think I'm interested in. For example, I read a Kim Stanley Robinson last year and I enjoyed it. This is a trilogy all about 3 different ways that Mars could turn out if it was like colonized differently, I think. What I'm not sure about is that his other book was kind of dry. So I want to test this, see if it grips me, if it pulls me in, if I'm intrigued to read this, or if I'm not. And then I can pass the trilogy along to someone else. I found it in a little free library, so I don't mind if I pass it along. Others are books I've had on my shelves for a really long time, and I don't know if I want to read them. So I want to give the writing style a little test, figure out if I'm interested in diving into the first book in the series, and then figuring out if I want to collect the whole rest of the series. I don't remember what Inda is about, but I have heard really good things from people, but I've been struggling a bit with older fantasy. I think I do prefer newer fantasy, but this one was 2006, so it's 20 years old, which isn't like super old. I want to give it a try, get a feeling for where we're at. And then others are for authors that I think I enjoy, but I've been struggling with lately. So Isabel Allende wrote The House of the Spirits. I love that book so much. I have since tried 2 other of her books and DNF'd them very quickly. So I have this one and another one of hers that I'm going to try and just see what I think. See if I am interested in this one. If I don't like it, there's a short story collection that goes after this book, and so I can pass them both along. We'll find out. So I'm going to be doing that, just trying chapters. The twist for this video is the video will not end until I unhaul 10 books. So the plan is not to just unhaul them because I can, but to really truly root out the books that I don't think I'm not interested in, pass them along in some little free libraries, or there's a really fun book nonprofit that is having a sale on Saturday. So I could, if I unhaul a bunch of books, I can go donate them, which is really great because they sell them and then they help buy books to give away to kids, which is really awesome. And they do a lot of really great work of just giving books out for free at schools and just sending like kids home with like their arms full of books, and I love it so much. So that would be a great place to kind of get rid of some of the books that I'm not interested in, and they will go to hopefully a new home. While I'm taste testing, it's not always the most interesting video, so I am going to be giving you a full review of an audiobook that I'm going to be listening to. And while I listen to that audiobook, I'm going to be mending some things. I have at least 3 sweaters here that just got holes in them last season. Like this one has a little hole in the sleeve that just needs to be quickly sewn up so that I can wear it in the fall. And I really love these sweaters. They get a lot of wear, so I want to fix them up. I have a bucket down here that's full of little sewing projects that are so small and don't take very long, but I never get to them. So I plan to listen to my audiobook and work on these little projects while I listen to it. The audiobook I'm listening to is The Book of M by Peng Shepherd. This is a dystopian novel about people who are losing their shadows, and when they lose their shadow, they also like start forgetting things, and it's kind of weird and surreal at this point. And we're following a few different timelines, some like right before people started realizing this was happening all over the world, and then some right at the beginning when we were realizing it's a problem, and then some like later on when things have been going on for a while, society's kind of crumbled, and we are following a couple who get separated, and one of them is trying to find their way back to the other one. The other one is shadowless and is starting to forget things, and she's going somewhere. I don't really know what she's up to, but it's just been enjoying it quite a bit and a little hard to follow. I think if I listen, that's going to help my mind focus more on it, so it'll be a good audiobook for doing pretty quickly. Then I'll pull out, I have some jeans. I need to sew patches on like the inner thigh. I have like some iron-on ones. I want to see if they work on those so I can preserve the jeans a little longer. I have a bag I want to sew straps on. Couple other little projects. So I'll be working on those while finishing up the audiobook. I am 25% of the way through the Book of M so far, but I'll update you kind of as we're going along, but I'm enjoying it. And then I will also update you when I read first chapters and what I think of them, and we will just go until I have 10 books to unhaul off my shelves. Okay, so I listened to 8% of the Book of M. Still enjoying it. It does feel quite long. So we're just kind of like watching our different characters in different situations. And actually one of the timelines that we're following is getting more interesting the more I'm listening. And one is very much not interesting at all. And then the third one is interesting, which is our main couple. So I'm enjoying it overall, except for that one timeline. I just don't really know why it's in there, and maybe it'll all come around at the end and I'll understand why. But right now, I'm a little bored while listening to that part. But listening and doing my projects, I always, like in my mind, overestimate how long it will take me to do these things. And I'm like, oh, it'll take forever. And I literally just like flew through these in like 30 minutes or something. It did not take very long at all. So I finished all 3 of them. I'm gonna go put them in my closet so they're ready for fall. And then my sister's coming over tonight, so I might try to do the bag project. Oh, and I forgot I had another sweater. This, it must have been in there forever. And it just has like a little hole in one of the armpits that I need to like sew up, but that will take such a short amount of time. I totally forgot I even had this. I think I got it from a neighbor, and I think either shortly after I got it, it got a hole in it, or when I got it, it had a hole in it, and I was like, oh, I need to fix that, and then just never did. So I can do this. And then this is my project that I'm not 100% sure if it'll work, but I thought I'd try it. So I got this bag years ago, almost 15 years ago, I think at this point. It's this very cute bag. I'm pretty sure it was like handmade. I found it in a thrift store when I was at college, and I love it. And it used to have straps that were the inside lining color, but I use this bag so much for college and everything else that the straps basically disintegrated from overuse. So I want to put new straps on, and I was thinking about like what I could use for straps, and I have like these pants that I love, and I needed to like cut off the ends of them for hemming because they were like really long. And so I have this. Now this was like just scissor cut, so I think it's gonna fray a little bit, but I don't know if I care that much, because in theory it should only fray up to like the machine sewed hem, I'm assuming. So I think it would only fray a little bit. So the vision is to like sew these on as straps and see how it works and how it looks. I'm only using like thread, like just regular sewing thread. So I think this will need to turn into like my crochet bag instead of like a bag I take to the library and fill with books, because I don't think I'll be able to get it strong enough to like hold. But I think I might work on this as like an evening project after I do this. I'm just in a mood to like finish up as much as I can. I do have some tough projects that just need more work, and so I need to like figure out a plan for it and maybe ask my sister to help me. Like, I love Owl City, and I went to their tour a couple years ago, and I got this shirt and I love it. It's from one of my favorite songs. But this, because you're just like buying at the tour or at the like merch table. So I kind of like held it up to me and I'm like, I think that fits. And I like put it on and it fits like the width of my body. But these are supposed to be like 3/4 sleeves, and they're kind of like awkwardly long. And then the torso, because they're unisex, the torso is like super long because I'm 5'2". So it's like way too long on me, and it just looks not my size. So I might ask my sister if she can like help me redesign it a little bit. So that's like a tougher project that I need help with, I think, or at least a plan for how I'm going to do it by myself. But some of these other ones are things I can do by myself. So I want to like knock out the easy ones so I have more time and space to work on the hard ones. So that's the plan there, is to finish up this one and then maybe work on the bag. And then the book I'm going to start and try a chapter of is Sea of Rust by C. Robert Cargill. I've had this book for ages, probably like 6 years at this point, and I just need to try it and see if I'm interested in it, because I read this author's short story collection a couple years ago and it was very okay. There were some stories that I enjoyed, and then a handful that I was like, I really don't like this. And so I'm a little worried about this. The idea of this is that the world is run by robots and humans are extinct, and there's an OWI, which is a one world intelligence that controls the consciousness of millions of robots, and they're all connected. Some robots choose to not be part of that, and they're like refugees, kind of like hiding. At one point I thought I wanted like an AI robot point of view. I don't know if I'm as interested in this anymore, and it's always been on my like, oh, I should get to that pile in my bookshelves. So I'm like, I need to pull it out. I need to see the writing. I need to get a feel for what being in this robot's head is going to be like. So I'm going to start with this one, and then I think we'll do the Isabel Allende because, like I said, I've just been struggling with her work lately. So I think if I'm going to clean out the ones I'm not interested in, now's going to be the time to do it. And then if I have some more time, I think I'll look at Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. I thought I was interested in Karen Slaughter, and I still might be. I read the first book in her Will Trent series, and I thought it was all right. I liked the mystery, but I listened to it on audiobook, and I was a little bored by, like, the main character of Will Trent. This is not part of the series. This is a standalone, and this is maybe more of like a thriller than like a detective mystery, so I'm hoping I might like this a little better, but I'm just not sure how I feel about Karen Slaughter. I know she's known for having like scary, brutal stuff. I have heard some negative things about her work, specifically considering race and how she uses characters of color in some of her works. I don't think it was in this one. I think it was in another one. So I'm not sure about that. And I just don't know how much I want like a really brutal, like real life, horrific, realistic thrillers. I think at one point I thought I wanted that, but I don't know if I actually do. I think I maybe would rather have a thriller where it's a little more campy or a little more toned down, like the horrifyingness of it all. I don't know. So I think I will try the 3 chapters of those, and I will report back to you which ones I'm going to keep, which ones I'm going to get rid of. Maybe one of them I'll start now. Just kidding, I won't do that because I am in the middle of 3 books and I'm about to start a chunky book on top of another chunky book I'm reading for another video. So probably not, but you never know. Okay, I have some updates and hopefully the light isn't too terrible. I feel like it's really bright coming in because the sun is setting, but I have some overhead light, so hopefully my face is not in total shadow. But I have tried chapters of 4 books and I've made progress in my audiobook. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about the audiobook. So I'm still reading the Book of M. I'm 60% of the way through, or very close to 60% of the way through. And I am liking it, but I feel like it's a very meandery book, and I don't tend to like those very well. I don't like it when plot meanders, and part of it is because a lot of the plot lines are traveling to somewhere and you know things are going to happen to them along the way. So it does feel like everyone is like traveling and then running into some problems and then getting away from them and then traveling more. And that's happening in multiple timelines now. So it's getting a little tiresome from that point of view. And it also just feels quite long. It's only a 16-hour audiobook, but it just feels like I should be like 80% of the way through, even though I'm not. I do think that this would have been better if it was just the one timeline of the couple and then showing them in their separate journeys rather than having the 2 other timelines that we're following as well. I do like what I think we're finding out about why people are forgetting things, because there's something happening that's interesting. So I like that part, but I just think it's so overshadowed by everything else that's going on. And if it was trimmed down to just a couple characters, I would be so much more locked in to their story. But I'm still enjoying it, if that makes sense. It just feels more like a 3-star, maybe 3.5, rather than like a 4 or 5-star, because I just don't care as much about some of the other plot lines, and it's making our main plot line feel like it's taking a really long time to get anywhere, because we're constantly stopping and going to like other places and other timelines. But we're making progress. Let's talk about the 4 chapters that I tried. I did not try the full chapter of many of them. Most of them had a prologue, funnily enough, and 3 of them I liked and 1 of them I didn't. So let's talk about them in the order that I read them. So Sea of Rust, this was one that I'm going to get rid of. I wasn't intrigued by the writing style. The plotline doesn't really draw me in anymore. Just didn't feel it. Think I'm just ready to let it go, and that's good. So we're letting that one go. This one, I tried. I actually really like the writing style of this, and I was looking up reviews to kind of get a feel for like, what type of story is this? Is this one of her more like political ones? Is it more of a romance? And I read that there was incest in here, or close to incest. I'm guessing like cousins get married or something, and that just, I really hate that in books. I don't know if anyone likes that in books. I do not. So I was like, I'm not interested in that. So I'm going to get rid of this one and the short story collection that goes along with this. And then I'm going to get rid of Pieces of Her. I was reading the back. I was reading reviews. I read the first like 4 pages, and I just don't think I'm that interested. I don't know. A lot of people were saying this is not her best work. So if I was going to try this, I don't even know that this is the place to start. I did like the fact that it was like a thriller instead of like a mystery, because I do think I tend to enjoy an actual thriller sometimes. But I don't know. Nothing intrigued me enough to want to continue. So I'm fine passing that on, and I probably won't ever think about that book again. The book that I'm keeping is The Autumn Castle by Kim Wilkins. This had a great prologue. This is about a man who's like completely colorblind, but he's a great artist, and he's a sculptor and like statue maker, and he is like talking to this guy who's coming over to see his work, and he has this statue that's made of bones, and the guy is like, oh, I hope those aren't human bones, and he's like, of course they're not human bones, and then he's like thinking to himself, he's like, they're fairy bones, and it was very like, mwahaha, I'm a villain and I'm like a hunter of fairies. And that was just a fun, intriguing opening, and I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be our main point of view of this story, but I am very intrigued to continue on and find out what that's about. So we have 3 books that are ready to go. We need 7 more, so I got to try some more chapters. I'm going to tell you about what I'm going to read next. I'm going to try The Crocodile on the Sandbank. I've heard this is a very fun mystery series. This is the first one in the Amelia Peabody series. This is like a Victorian mystery series written in the 70s. So I think that could be fun, but I do want to see the writing style, because I do like a couple Agatha Christie's, but I often get bored with the writing style. I don't find them that compelling of mysteries. There's a lot of like chatter and talk, so I want to see if there's like a good character I can hang on to, an interesting mystery. This one is like set in Egypt, which sounds fun, but I just thought I'd give it a taste test, see if I like it. If not, I can pass on it, but I would like to have like a mystery series that I am enjoying, and these are kind of like short, I'm assuming cozier mysteries. And then we have this one. This is the first in a gigantic series. This is L.E. Modisett Jr.'s The Magic of Recluse. This is the first book in a series that probably has like 20 volumes at this point. It had 21 volumes as of 8 years ago, which is when this book was published. And I don't know if he's written any more. He's written like tons of books. That is the list of things that he has written. So there's a lot. And I would like to try his work. This is like a coming of age fantasy. The back does not tell you much. It's either choose permanent exile for this character or go through the danger guild, which I don't know what it is, but people don't survive. And it says Laris must learn to use his powers in an orderly way before this like trial or fall prey to chaos. So I've heard good-ish things about it. I will say 90s fantasy, this was written in 91. 70s, 80s, 90s fantasy can be very sexist. And so often I struggle with the way female characters are portrayed in books, and I've talked about that in many other episodes, but I would like to give this one a try. I try to be open-minded and like try it out and hope that I find some books that don't have that issue. So I'd like to try that one. And then I have this cute copy of A Girl of the Limberlost by Jean Stratton Porter. And I always forget what this book is about, but it's like I think it's like a coming of age, think like Anne of Green Gables, like a young woman or a young girl, and I think there's something to do with like the woods and maybe like fairies or something. I think there's like maybe a little bit of magic in here, or maybe it's just like childhood magical, like pretend magical kind of stuff. So I would like to try out the first chapter of this one and see what I think as well. I'll check back with you probably tomorrow when I've tried out those chapters. Okay, so I'm at the library for a little bit and I brought a few books with me in my bag. I think I brought like 5 that I'm going to try a chapter of, and we'll see what I think of them. And I need to pick up a book and drop a couple books off that are due. So we'll do that as well. And I'm just going to chill out and read. I also brought a book I'm reading for another video. So if I get done with the chapters early, I can read that because I have a couple hours before I need to go get my allergy shot. So that's just what we're going to do. I'll let you know probably when I get home because it's hot in the car right now. I'll let you know when I get home what I think of the chapters I do end up reading. Okay, I have a whole bunch of books I want to talk to you about, but I want to sew the other strap onto my bag, so I'm going to do that while we chat. I have read the chapters of 11 books since we last spoke. As I said earlier, I took a bunch to the library and read like 6 first chapters. I read 2 just before I came on to chat with you while I was icing my arm after my allergy shot, and the 3 from before. So let's start with the 3 that I talked to you about first. Starting with Crocodile on the Sandbank. This is a keeper. I really liked the main character's kind of attitude and narration. Her name is Amelia Peabody, and she was taking care of her father in his old age, and he ended up dying and basically giving everything to her. And her siblings had been fine to let her have the inheritance because they were like, our dad was just like a professor or something. He was into like academics, and they're like, he's not going to have that much money. And then it turns out he had a lot of money because he was a very wise investor. And so then she is inheriting like a ton of stuff and quite a large estate. And then her family members are like trying to wheedle their way into Amelia's good graces. And I just really liked the vibe of it. And I hope it stays good, but I liked it enough to want to continue. So that one will be a keeper. The next one will be an unhaul. So this will be unhaul number 4. This is The Magic of Recluse. So the reason we are going to unhaul this one is partially because I should have done more research before I bought it. I bought it because it was a large fantasy series, and I'm always looking for like a big fantasy series to get into. It seemed like it had a cool magic system of this kind of like math of like order and chaos and stuff. And so I just got it based on it's long and is fantasy. Really, if I'm being honest, it was those things. I should have done more research because from everything that I've learned about the author, Ellie Modisett Jr., he writes slow slice of life fantasy that goes very in depth into whatever craft a character might be into. So it could be painting, I think, is really big in one of his series. This one in particular is talking a lot about woodworking. And I've heard a lot of people say that, like, if you are not interested in watching a character, like, not really do anything except for learn how to woodwork, don't read this book. And I read more about, like, the wider series, if people like it, if this is like a must-read fantasy. And a lot of people just said that everything is fine. There are good books for people who read them when they were released, but they're not anything that, like, people said you're missing out if you don't read this. So I decided I'm going to pass on that. I may try some of his other work in the future, but there's a lot of fantasy out there, and fantasy is not the only genre I read. So I kind of want to be reading, like, the really good stuff. So this one is our 4th unhaul. And then we have The Girl of the Limberlost by Jean Stratton Porter. That one is going to be another unhaul. The opening was fine, except for the dialogue was really bad. Like, I did not like the dialogue at all. It felt really stiff and stilted and, like, I don't know, like mannequins speaking. They didn't feel like real characters. I do think the plot sounds interesting, but I really struggle. If I don't like the dialogue or the writing, I really do struggle with enjoying a good plot if it has those downsides. So I decided to pass on this one. That gives us book number 5. Now let's talk about some keepers. Radiance by Catherine M. Valente. I've had this book for ages, and I'm going to keep it up here in my room so that I pick it up. This is something to do with filmmaking in space, and to be honest, I just forget sometimes how much I love Catherine M. Valente's writing. So we, like, open this book with, like, the narrator being like, come into the dialogue. It's a nice, cool, damp space, and it's just, like, talking about nothing and everything and just giving you a total vibe, really. And sometimes Catherine M. Valente writes a book that is a lot of vibe and nothing else, and it doesn't work for me. I felt this way with Space Opera by her. I read that book and I did not enjoy it because it just felt like it was all vibe and no substance. I'm hoping that this one will be vibe and substance. I just think the combination of, like, space and film, specifically like gothic film and aliens, I really want to love this. So I'm going to keep it up here so that I get to it sooner rather than later instead of downstairs. And I'll hopefully touch base with you on whether or not it's good. But that'll be my 3rd keeper. Another keeper is Washington Black by Essie Adugian. This is about a young boy who is a slave in, I want to say, Barbados. And the very opening is about their master dying and getting a new master. And the new master is, like, evil, like torturing people to make examples of them. And his sort of protector, because I kind of get the feeling he's, like, maybe like an orphan slave, like his mom is not around, so he doesn't really have anyone to watch over him And this woman kind of takes him under her wing, basically seeing this new master and saying it would be better if we killed ourselves rather than stay under this man's power, because worse things will happen to us than death. And the lady believes that if you die, you'll be reborn free back in your homeland. And that's where I stopped. I had to actually stop myself from reading on because I was very captivated. That is one of the only times where I just kept turning the page. Like, I should read a little more just to make sure. And I'm like, no, you're enjoying it and you want to keep reading. So this one will be a keep for sure. I'm not sure how I will like the whole book because it is like a journey about this boy getting like taken as a slave to the master's brother, who's like a naturalist and an adventurer, and so they like go on an adventure. And journey novels don't always work well for me, so I'm a little worried about that, but I liked the narration enough that I want to continue reading it. Next, we have Of Love and Shadows by Isabel Allende, and I'm going to be passing this one on. This one could be good. I definitely liked the writing style of it, but there's just something about it is not working for me right now, and I just got the ick from like a couple things that I couldn't tell if I was or wasn't supposed to get the ick from, and I can always get this from the library if I'm interested in it, so I think I'm just gonna pass because I feel like I got a lot of her books based on me liking The House of the Spirits, and I've just really struggled with her books ever since. So this will be the next unhaul. This is unhaul number 6. Another unhaul is Lies by T.M. Logan. The reason I have this book is because Jen Campbell, who's a YouTuber I watch, really loves the Nikki French series. The Free to Climb series starts with Blue Monday. I heard about that series from her. I read it. I love it. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite series of all time. And when she was looking for more books that would kind of give her the same feel as that series, she came across a book by T.M. Logan and she really liked it. I could not access that book at any of my libraries and only found this one for like 10 cents at a used book sale, picked it up, and gave it a try. Now, I will say I read quite a few chapters of that one because the chapters were about 2 pages each, and I did keep turning the page, but I was kind of turning the page in a way like it was really bad, and the choices that the character was making were making me scratch my head in a way that would not be sustainable for the 500 pages of this novel. So this is about a man who is driving with his son, and his son goes, "Oh, there's mom's car." His son is like 3. And his wife is supposed to be on a business trip, and they follow her to a hotel parking lot, kind of sneak up on her and see that she's fighting with her best friend's husband. The dad goes back to the car and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna go talk to mom," because he realizes like something weird is going on here. And so he gets out, and the wife drives away before he can get her attention, but then the husband, the best friend's husband, is still there. They argue for no reason. The best friend's husband is like on edge, and they argue. The dad like pushes the guy back because he's getting very physical. He like pushes him back to like get some space in between them. The guy falls down, hits his head, and dies. Then the son sees that, starts having an asthma attack, and the dad's like, "What do I do? Do I save my son or call the cops?" And is like, "I'm gonna save my son." And so he like just starts driving away, like running away from a scene of a crime to save his kid. And I'm like, I get that. You want to save a kid who's having an asthma attack, but like, you can just call the police and say, "Hey, I think a man just died. my son is having an asthma attack. I'm driving him to this hospital. Come arrest me if you need to or something. Like, call my wife. Like, there are so many things you could do other than just driving away. And then I looked up reviews, and a lot of people said a lot of things that happen in this book are ridiculous. So I'm going to pass on this one. And I'm actually just removing the other book from my shelves because I can't access it anywhere. And this does not make me think I will like it. It was fine writing, but I don't need it. Unhaul number 7. Keeper, Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. I really like Kim Stanley Robinson's introductions to novels. This one is talking all about how the discovery of Mars has always had such like a profound impact on us as humans, and how it's like a source of inspiration for like mythology and stories and stuff. And then it's jumping to humans who are going there to colonize Mars. And this is the first in a trilogy. There's Red Mars, Green Mars, and Blue Mars. And each book, I believe, is based on the idea of like, what if we colonized Mars with like different intentions in mind with what we're gonna do with it. So this one, it doesn't say much about it. It says more about like how they're going to like capture warmth and stuff like that. But I think maybe this one or the next one is like militaristic. Maybe this one is like going to live there or something. They're trying to give it an Earth-like atmosphere. So maybe that's the thing. But I'm intrigued. Maybe I'll read more and DNF it, but I was intrigued by the beginning of it. Okay, and then Inda is another book I'm keeping. This is the one that I was the second most interested in after Washington Black. This starts with a village, a castle, and the girls and the boys are taking part in war games, which is basically the boys and girls like fight each other with like mud balls. And there was just something so cozy and warm about the narration that I was like, I feel at home in this world, and I'm like 6 pages in. So I really enjoyed that, and I wanted to keep going. I didn't learn much about what it's actually going to be about. It was just those war games, and I was just having the time of my life reading about them. The next one was a pretty easy DNF. This was The Last Stormlord, and like The Girl of the Limberlost, this was just the writing. It just felt stilted. It felt awkward. The characters didn't feel like they were speaking like characters. It felt like, I don't know, someone having to just like improv a medieval person and not really think about it. And then just really, like, it was just, it felt a little amateurish, if I'm being honest. And I was just like, I'm not going to read, 5 of these or however long the series is. So I'm going to pass on this one. This is number 8. And then number 9, Into the Darklands by Michelle Segura. I am intrigued by Michelle Segura's work. However, I tried this one and it was dense and confusing and boring. It kind of reminded me of like the very intro of Lord of the Rings, the movies, where it's talking about like the rings and like 9 rings were made and given to the humans and stuff like that. So it's trying to be this like ethereal, magical, mystical thing that's happening, and it honestly was gibberish. It was like 4 pages of nothing that made sense, and this is her debut work, so I know she'll get better because I read half of a very long book by her. I read like 400 pages before giving up on that one. And that was just because there were a ton of characters and I was having a hard time keeping track of them. The cover, probably the worst cover of all time. The writing, not the worst, but pretty bad. And I don't think that this is going to be the winner for me for her work. So I need to unhaul one more before we can end this video. I am so far keeping 6 and getting rid of 9, so that's not bad. And I still have, I don't know, probably 12 or 13 more books that I've pulled off my shelves that I can go through. So I'm sure I'm going to find something in there that I can pass along. I have finished the Book of M, so let's talk about that. So I ended up giving this 2 stars. It was too many timelines, too much jumping around, too many characters, and on audiobook, I lost the plot a little bit. Now, part of that is my fault. I know when I'm listening to a complicated audiobook, I need to like really be sitting down and sewing or brushing my rabbit kimchi or something like that. Like I need to be doing something where I can be 100% focused on the narration, and I didn't do this. I was doing too much. I'm gonna listen while I take the dog out. I'm gonna listen while I do the dishes, while I, clean, while I do whatever. And it was just too much and I got distracted. However, I also just think there were a lot of characters, and that was to the detriment of the story. I think the story would have been much better as a toned down dystopian novel with much less going on, because all of the stuff that I thought was cool and interesting turned out to not really go anywhere, and the stuff that was confusing turned out to be kind of the linchpin of the whole thing. And by the time we got to it, there was like a big reveal at the end of something that happened, and all I could think was like, wait, who? Because there was like a character thing that happened, but I couldn't remember who the character was. So then I had to go read a summary, and then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that would be weird. And that was kind of the ending of this dystopian novel. And so it just, I don't know, it didn't work for me. I think it was just too much. So I gave it 2 stars. I am glad I read it. That's been on my TBR for a really long time. So I am glad that I finally got to it. And I'm just sad I was disappointed in it overall. But that's okay. We move on to another book. I will come back when I have another book to unhaul and maybe a few more chapters to talk about. And I'll see you then. Okay, we're back in the chair. I feel like this has been the location for the entire video, but oh well, it's where all the books are. I wanted to show you my finished bag. The ends are fraying a lot, and I'm hoping they'll stop once they get to like the sewing line and that they won't shed so much, but that's not a big deal. But this is my new, I think, crochet bag, because I doubt that this really old thread will like hold like a book amount of weight, but it will for sure hold like some crochet hooks and some yarn. And I love this bag so much. I was looking at the little tag on the inside because I found this in college, and I'm pretty sure that like this was a small business or something that like made this bag. So I like that I'm able to sort of give it a new life and keep it with me a little bit longer, because this bag went through a lot, and the bag itself super well constructed. It was just the straps that got worn out. So yay, that's done. And I got the 3 sweaters done as well. I have 1 cardigan left, and then some jeans and some leggings that I'm gonna try to patch thigh holes in at some point. But that's gonna be a little more complicated and maybe some trial and error. Let's talk about the final book that I'm getting rid of. It is The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. I always want to say Simmons. Paulina Simons. This is a book that was very popular like 10 years ago. And I heard this is like something to read if you like Outlander, like another big sprawling historical romance. However, after reading some reviews, the main romance between our two characters is a 16-year-old and a 22-year-old. And I know that this is set in World War II, World War I, set in the past. That was last frowned upon, but ick. So I will not be reading this. I'm going to pass it on. I don't want to read an underage romance. So I'm going to get rid of this one. So 10 books, leaving my home. I am glad to have given them a try and being ready to pass them on. And then 6 books that I have tried and am deciding to keep. And I'm actually very excited about each of these. I do have a stack here and a stack over there of chapters that I'd like to try. So if you're interested, I could definitely do another round of these because, as I said before, my challenge is to taste test every single book on my shelves. So we still have a couple hundred to go. I have a lot of books, but the number is coming down. That has been the goal of a lot of this project, has been reading down the books I own and passing along the ones that don't work for me. So if you would be interested in seeing another round of this, if you think this is fun and interesting, let me know. I will definitely do more if you want them. Otherwise, I will just keep my try chapter to myself sometimes. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.